Hi, guys. Today we're going to talk about debt dynamics mastering real estate at leverage. Now, I was once told that real estate debt is a useful tool, and some people say the same thing as the devil's pitchfork. What do you think it is? Now, several years ago, I got invited to a forum discussion about debt. And to be kind, it got humorous. It really did. Because one side said we're bragging about buying property with 100% other people's money, and other people's money was the big deal there. And they just made money hand over fist, blah, blah, blah. The other side said that they just didn't like debt at all. They paid all cash for everything. Now, I will tell you, when they asked me, finally, what I thought, because I'd been quiet the whole time, they said, "What do you like?" And I said, "Neither one." Because if you buy with all cash, you're limiting your chances for real growth by not proudly but thoughtfully borrowing money, but not all 100%. The most I've ever borrowed on any investment is 80%, and that's only been twice. It's usually been 75% or less. And I've made out fine. Now, people that buy 100% other people's money, I wonder what they were saying in 1981. They bought it in 80, and in 1981, the prime rate was 20%. Conventional rates were about 18, and FHA, for God's sake, was 17.4. What do you think they did? I know what they did. They went to the bar and said, "Give me a double scotch," because they had nothing they could do. They were stopped dead in their tracks. Now, what I like to do is when I buy a property, I know the market. What an idea. What you want to understand and never forget, debt is merely a tool. End of sentence. When I've seen interest rates go way up, I've told my long-term investors to go fishing. No, really. I wasn't trying to sell them anything. The occasional great deal would come along, and I'd call one of my wealthy clients. Otherwise, I wasn't calling anybody. Interest rates went back down, and how low? They had to go to make everything make sense. And if they didn't make sense to me with my numbers, I didn't recommend a buy. It's just that simple. What I insist on is that when you buy a property using proper leverage, which in my world means 25% down minimum in 90% of cases, and over time, you can take advantage of that leverage. That's why it's called leverage. Now, in the end, people end up with a lot more money, more safely done than borrowing all 100%. Over my nearly 55 years of being licensed, October 15th, I'll be licensed for 55 years. I will tell you, I have met less than a handful. I will have my thumb left over because I've only met 3 or 4 100% investors in my life that were successful. I've met many who weren't. I've met a few that had to go bankrupt. Okay? End of sentence. Bottom line. It's not for you. Let's take an example of the two approaches. So Mary buys a property and she puts nothing down, borrows at 10%, and it yields 14%. Not bad, huh? Okay, I get it. John buys a property puts 50% down, and he makes a total of 3%. Okay? Now, what this hints at is the rule. And I know it's not a bald guy rule because people came up with this rule before I was even a thought in my mom and dad's head. But I will tell you, I've called it the bald guy rule because I will not violate it. You cannot buy property, period, when the return over the long haul is projected to be less than the interest rate. End of sentence. Now, are there exceptions? Yes. Can I tell what the exceptions are going to be? Rarely. I'm guessing. Now, I've gotten better over guessing because I've been doing it over half a century. But the bottom line is, I don't guess. It's just not worth it. Now, in the end, what you have to understand, debt is neither of the extremes. It's not the devil's tool, and it's not the end-all be-all of everything. If it's used correctly, like most things in life, ice cream, for instance. Most people love ice cream of some sort, but they don't eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's 100% financing. Most people, once they have it and decide they like it, they don't then cut themselves off from the ice cream world until they're dead. No, they eat it sparingly when it's appropriate. And that's the lesson we have to learn about debt. Let me give you another example. If you buy a property with $100,000 cash, and that's the price, it goes up 10%, you made $10,000. Great. You put 25% down, 50% down, you make 2 to 4 times rather, the money. Take your time, do the math in your head. You put 25% down, $25,000. It goes up 10%. That's $10,000 on 25. That's a 40% return. Your all cash guy only made 10%. Okay? It's simple, Simon. And over time, you never risked 100% financing. I won't be a part of that. I've lost several clients over the years because I would not advise them how to do it. They thought I was nuts. Do you realize how many $1,000s you're turning down? I said, yeah. And I'm realizing the first time you lose your butt, you're going to turn to me and say it's my fault. And we both know it's not, it's yours. So I'm not advising to do that. I never will. And I'm 72. Knock, knock. So we have John and Mary as an example again. Now, John buys the $100,000 for cash. Mary puts 25% down on 4 properties, the same 100,000. How do you think that turns out? Now, they don't appreciate, except for Mary received it on 4 properties, if they did. But they didn't. So how did Mary come out ahead? Because she took all the cash flow and focused on paying one of them down on the loan, slowly but surely. Now, it takes John about 8 years to save $12,000. You think there's going to be no appreciation for 8 years? I've not seen that in my life. It's going to cost him for the same exact house, maybe 105, maybe 125. I don't know. Neither does he. And he may have to borrow the difference. But the bottom line here is debt is not evil. It's your friend if you treat it right and treat it the way it's supposed to be used, the way the lenders, frankly, prefer you to use it. Back at Debt Ranch, Mary has 4 properties that are now free and clear. It's been about 15 years. She has 400,000. I'm going to say that they never appreciate it. I've never seen that in my life. But let's say that's true. Meanwhile, John raised enough to buy one more house for cash. He's now got 2 houses for cash. And she has twice the property he has, free and clear. Who knew? Well, I did, and anybody else that understands how to use debt correctly. Now, she can trade that 400,000 theoretically tax-free. I've done it a million times. For $1.6 million of property. Oh, and she did. And it's in Texas. And it's not 20 years old, 50 years old, 70 years old. It's brand new. Okay? And in the next 15 years before retirement, she'll pay those off the same way she paid the others. And she'll end up with 4 to 8 times the retirement income as poor John. Now, if John would learn after 15 years, he can play catch up with Mary. I have found, though, that the people that believe in all cash, I've only seen maybe a handful change their mind since the early 70s. It's amazing. People get locked in and they want to argue against gravity because they think they're right. Yet every time they try to jump up more than 2 feet, they fall back to the ground. They can't explain that because it's gravity. Bottom line, let's use debt and gravity as a comparison. You can challenge gravity or you can use it to your benefit. Your choice. Because you know what happens when you challenge gravity. It can sometimes be deadly. Now, take this home with you, digest it, and the next time you're thinking about your strategy and investing in real estate, and you want to really know what's best for you, because what's best for you isn't best for everybody. That's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. Now, give me a call, and you and I will have a long talk. Catch you later.